And we're doing it live. Welcome to episode 1 of Doing It Live. I'm your host as always, Holden, Hintz. And this is a show where we talk about all things that are alive in the sports nation. So first thing we're going to talk about today is the NFL draft. So the big thing, it's coming up in a month. And a lot of people have the question, who's going number 1? And I'm not talking about taking a leak, because if I am, it's me. But I'm talking about who's going number 1 pick overall. So we have Cleveland Browns, and they have lined up in almost every mock draft Myles Garrett. So let me tell you about Myles Garrett. This guy is an athletic freak. He plays defensive end. I could put him at outside linebacker and maybe like a 3-4 defense. It depends on what I want to run. But he is a monster. He probably played defensive end at the Browns. He showed off his skills at the combine. Showed off that he's extremely muscular. He can jump very high, and he's pretty quick on his feet. He is hands down one of the best players that's going to come out of this draft. I'm totally sold on him, but here's the question. Is he the best player in the whole NFL draft out of everyone that's coming out of college this year? And B, is he the right fit for the Cleveland Browns to turn them from the worst team in the league to a playoff contender? I know this isn't the NBA, There's not just 5 people to a team and one person can make all the difference, but truly, let's look at some of the facts of Super Bowl winning teams in the past 12 years. Because I'll say in the recent era, 12 years I'll even say past 17 years, So Super Bowl winning quarterbacks, obviously Tom Brady 5 times. We got Ben Roethlisberger, Joe Flacco, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Russell Wilson. These are phenomenal quarterbacks. These are guys, and I'm just saying. Yes, they probably had good defenses this year on them, and we're forgetting about the Ray Lewis of the defenses and whatnot. But I'm saying, in order to win a Super Bowl, which every team wants to do, this is always the beginning of every season. They say, let's try to win the division. Let's try that. They say, I want to win the Super Bowl. And every team says, I think this team will win me a Super Bowl. But without a prolific starting quarterback, I don't think it's possible in this modern era of the NFL. You have to have an incredible quarterback. And if you look at just last year's Super Bowl, Matt Ryan and Tom Brady. Matt Ryan is very good. He might be even underrated how good of a quarterback he is and how smart and quick he is. And he played a really sound game for the most part. And obviously Tom Brady, like I said, probably the greatest of all time. I'm not a big fan of him, but I think he's a very, very, very good quarterback. So with all that being said, I think you got to focus on your quarterback position. Do you have a franchise-winning quarterback who's prolific, who could win a Super Bowl? Cleveland Browns? No, they do not. And what are you going to do? Wait till the second round to draft a quarterback? Wait till next year to draft a quarterback and just say, well, this season's over because we don't have a good starting quarterback? I think you gotta go for it. If you're not going for the free agent quarterbacks who you feel like are good, which, by the way, there's no one who's a Super Bowl winning quarterback other than maybe Tom Brady and maybe Kirk Cousins that's available as a free agent right now. I think they got to go for someone like a Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson is a winner. People might argue, so was Tim Tebow. But here's the thing, Deshaun Watson is a lot more sound and rounded than a lot of the quarterbacks that we've seen coming out of college in the past. I think he's a very smart quarterback, very good on his feet, very mobile. He's a leader. People want to follow him. He's a good guy, I think he it would be a good fit for the Cleveland Browns. And some people are like, well, you can't take a quarterback at the number 1 pick. Well, what does it matter? What does it matter if it's the number 1 pick or number 25th pick? If it's the first round, it's the same thing, you know? You're still a first round pick. That's a lot of pressure. Yes, if you're the number 1 overall, that's a lot of pressure too. But just because you're number 1 overall doesn't mean you're the best player in the entire college draft that's available. It does not mean that. And if you think that and you got drafted number 1, you're wrong. And you're boastful, you're full of it. It means that you were the right fit for that team at the right time, and you will make a difference. And so I'm okay with Deshaun Watson going number 1. I think if they feel like that they can do that, then go for it. And a lot of other things there's a lot of other factors, of course, on why people are draft busts. But I think a big one is the coaching staff. A lot of people don't put that into account, that the coaching staff play a large factor in whether a quarterback is successful, or even just a player in general. You know, I mean, 6th round, everyone knows Cinderella story, Tom Brady, 6th round draft pick, and people didn't think he would amount to anything. But with wonderful coaching, with one of the greatest coaches of all time, Bill Belichick, to support, cast, lead, he turned into something much more capable, much more able to win, to rise above whatever people thought he was, or whatever he even might have been. And I think that a lot of winning quarterback, Peyton Manning had Tony Dungy, wonderful coach. And obviously people knew Peyton Manning was very good. They saw him play at Tennessee. They knew he was very good. They knew that Peyton would go off. You know what I mean? Most people knew that. It was without a doubt. But I think the coaching staff has a lot to do with molding, sculpting a really good player. And I mean, so maybe Deshaun Watson isn't the right pick for the Cleveland Browns. I'm just saying, if I were the Cleveland Browns, I would say who's our most competent coaching staff, who feels like they can mold and really adapt to a great player. And if it's the defensive line coach, then go for it. Myles Garrett, great. I mean, Myles Garrett's, I'm sure he's probably a starter already. He's already ready to play. But he can be so much better than what he was. I mean, what rookie seasons say, you know what I mean? People can evolve. And I think a lot of that has to do with the coaching staff and with the care and with sometimes I think it's even how firm they are. A lot of players get away with a lot of stuff because coaching staffs have no spine, because they let shenanigans go on. And I think that sometimes hinders a player's progress. But a lot of coaches don't put up with that, and it lets players rise above. Again, players like Ray Lewis, he was the great, all-time greatest, one of the greatest linebackers of all time, and he rised above whatever challenges he came with, and he wasn't boastful, prideful, because I think that has a lot to say with who he is as a character, of course, but also his coaching staff not allowing him to get off with shenanigans. So all I'm trying to say is Cleveland Browns need to do what's best for them. I think there's a lot of pressure from the media, a lot of pressure from mock drafts, NFL.com, ESPN, all that stuff. You just got to apply a lot of pressure on the Browns. And really any first 5 round picks, you know what I mean? They feel like, oh, this is what everyone's saying we're going to do, or this is what everyone says is the best player. We should really look into this more. But I think do what's best for your team. What is your biggest need? And fulfill that. If it's not the best player available, that's okay. If it's the right player, that's so much more important to mold a team. Because you've got 22 men and 22 spots you need to fulfill. And it's not just fill, it's fulfill. You got to make sure that those are the best person for that position that you can get. You'll never have the best 22 men in the entire NFL. That'll never happen. But you can have the best available. And that's all about scouting, observing, knowing what your schemes are, knowing what people's strengths and weaknesses are. Because a lot of people just categorize players. They just say, oh, well, Darrelle Revis is the best cornerback in the NFL. He's got a strength. He's a great lockdown corner, but the problem is maybe he's not the best at zone. He's great on man-to-man, but you put him in the flats and people just get around him, or they body him. That's okay. That's not. You just have to know where to put people. I think even with wide receivers, they say, Odell Beckham Jr. is the best wide receiver right now in the NFL. Sure, he can make great catches, spectacular ones at that. But put him up against in double coverage, he's gone. You know what I mean? That's not his role though. To beat out double coverage. Some guys like Wes Welker, they'll always win in double coverage. They're short, little stocky guys that you can just throw to him in traffic and you go for him. But is Wes Welker going to make the one-handed catch in the back of the end zone on a fade route? No, he's probably not going to do that. But that's not what you play Wes Welker at. You got to know people's strengths and weaknesses, and you got to build your team around that strengths and those weaknesses. And that's what the draft is all about. It's not about just trying to mesh people. People don't even realize that chemistry is such an important part in the NFL. In college, you have no real choice, right? Because you got kids coming out of high school. You just kind of mold them and you just kind of let them kind of do their thing. And sometimes they'll mesh, sometimes they'll collide. But in the NFL, chemistry is huge. It's such a big part of everything that the team does. They got to have synergy. They got to have synergy. They got to be syncing on every single level and build off that energy together. And if you don't have the right piece of the puzzle, that could be holding you back from winning a Super Bowl. And that's why we see a lot of the same teams going through playoffs, going through Super Bowl, because they have synergy, because they worked well together. The pieces are in the right place. They don't care about this and that and the things of the world and the things. Again, Tom Brady, he doesn't have the best wide receivers in the NFL. Sure, he had Randy Moss and he did great, but people like Julian Edelman, great wide receiver. No one thought he would be that great. Let's even look at the Packers. Jordy Nelson, he was once maybe a fourth wide receiver on the string, fourth string wide receiver, and he moved all the way up to a first round easy starter, and he's phenomenal. You know what I mean? Guys that you never would imagine, even just crazy players that you would never think make it happen. All I gotta say is, with this NFL draft, I hope more teams will do what's right for their team and not try to satisfy the media, not try to satisfy their fans. Just do what's right for what their team is so they can win a Super Bowl. And if injuries happen, then so be it. It happens, But people can come back from that. Look at Jadeveon Clowney. He was injured pretty bad. People thought he's a total bust. Had a great breakthrough season last season. Did really well, very sharp, very quick, and he'll be big when J.J. Watt comes back. So that's my rant, and that's doing it live. Talking about the NFL draft. So this concludes episode 1 of Doing It Live. Be sure to like and subscribe, and keep listening to more of these kind of podcast things. Give me some comments. Let me know how I can improve. Maybe what more you want to hear of. I'm at work right now, so I'm just ranting on one person. I'd like to do more of these kind of things with other people. But let me know what works best, and I will try to reach out back to you guys and try to maybe make things better. Hopefully I can record from a real microphone, in a home, so you can't have all the static and car noises and me walking back and forth from my post. And that concludes Doing It Live.